Part 1. The Man Who Sat Down. Mia doesn't even hear him approach. 1 second, the chair across from her is empty, mocking her. The next, it scrapes softly against the floor, and a stranger settles into it like he's done this 100 times before. Except no one has ever looked at her the way he does now. Not with pity, with interest. "You look like you were about to apologize to an empty chair," he says. "I couldn't let that happen." She should tell him to leave. Instead, she laughs, a short, startled sound, the first genuine thing she's felt all night. "Do I know you?" "Not yet." He says it simply, like a promise rather than a line. He introduces himself only as Kale, and when the waiter arrives, he orders for both of them her favorite wine, a dish she's never told anyone she loves, without once looking at a menu. Mia stares at him. "How did you know that?" "I didn't," he says, holding her gaze. "I guessed. I'm just good at reading what people actually want, not what they settle for." The words land somewhere deeper than she expects. Across the restaurant, the manager hovers nearby, refilling water glasses no one asked for, throwing nervous glances at Kale like he's forgotten how to breathe normally. A woman 2 tables over whispers something behind her hand. Mia doesn't understand why, but Kale doesn't react to any of it, as if being watched is simply the weather he lives in. For the first time all night, Mia forgets to check her phone. He asks about her. Not the polite, forgettable questions Trent used to ask while scrolling his phone, but real ones. What she loves. What she'd change about her life if fear weren't in the way. She finds herself answering honestly, unguarded, drawn in by the low, unhurried way he listens like her answer is the only thing worth his attention tonight. Then her phone buzzes on the table, screen lighting up. "Trent, come outside, we need to talk." Mia's stomach drops. She looks up, and Kale's expression has already changed, calm hardening into something sharper. "Don't," he says quietly. He's not alone out there. Neither am I. Outside, the street lamp by the entrance flickers once, and goes dark that Mia's hand is still shaking when she pushes through the restaurant doors. Not from fear, but from the strange, electric calm radiating off the man walking half a step behind her like nothing in the world could touch either of them. Trent is waiting on the sidewalk with 2 friends, phone already raised, filming. "There she is," he laughs. "Thought you'd sneak out the back," crying. Mia opens her mouth to answer, but Kale steps forward first, and something about the movement makes Trent's friends flinch backward without meaning to, the way people step away from a sudden drop in temperature. "You had her," Kale says quietly, "and you threw her away in front of strangers for a laugh." He tilts his head slightly, almost curious. "I don't understand people who do that. Where I'm from, we don't discard what we don't deserve to keep." Trent forces a laugh, tries to reclaim the moment. "And who exactly are you?" Kale doesn't raise his voice. He simply looks at Trent the way a king looks at something he's already forgotten. "Someone who noticed her before you lost the right to." Trent's smirk falters. His friends are already backing toward the curb. That's when the black car glides up. No driver visible calling for it. No sound of an engine Mia recognizes. 2 men in dark, formal coats step out and wait silently by the door, their eyes scanning the street like soldiers, not chauffeurs. Mia esse pas status. Whoever Kale is, he isn't just wealthy. He isn't just confident. Something about the air around him has changed. Charged, alive, like standing too close to a storm that hasn't decided whether to break. Trent, humiliated and rattled, throws one last card down like a dare. "Do you even know who you just had dinner with?" Mia turns to Kale, heart pounding for reasons that have nothing to do with Trent anymore. Kale finally meets her eyes fully, and for the first time, something almost vulnerable flickers behind that composed, commanding face. "I was hoping," he says softly, "to tell you myself before it got complicated." They walk instead of driving, the city lights blurring gold around them, and for a while neither of them speaks. Mia finally breaks the silence. "You don't have to explain anything to me. I want to," Kale says. "You deserve better than being left confused twice in one night." He tells her plainly, without drama, the way someone speaks a truth they've carried alone for a long time. He is the alpha king of the Kydran, a species that has lived quietly alongside humans for generations, bound by an old treaty never to interfere in human lives directly. Not romance, not rescue, nothing. Tonight I broke that, he says. The first rule I've never broken, in a life built entirely around control. He glances at her, almost embarrassed by the admission. I saw you sit there, humiliated in front of a room full of strangers, and instead of falling apart, you held your spine straight and stared at an empty chair like you refused to let it win. I couldn't walk past that. Mia's chest tightens, not from fear, but from something unfamiliar, being seen fully by someone who owes her nothing. Among my people, he continues, what he did tonight, discarding someone who trusted him in public for sport, there's no version of our culture where that's forgivable. Honesty is the only currency that matters to us. He spent his and lost. And you? Mia asks quietly, what are you spending sitting here with me? Cale doesn't answer right away. When he does, his voice is lower, rawer than the composed king from the restaurant. Possibly more than I've ever risked in my life. And I don't regret it yet. Before she can respond, his personal guard steps out from the black car, urgent, tense. A photo of Cale at the restaurant is already spreading, his face unmistakable, tagged and shared thousands of times in minutes. If his court discovers their king broke centuries of tradition over one dinner with a human woman, the fallout won't just touch him. It will touch her too. By morning, the photo is everywhere. Cale's face outside a human restaurant, a woman beside him no one recognizes. His home court doesn't care that nothing happened between them. They care that their king, for the first time in his reign, chose something no one arranged for him. Mia learns the rest from Cale himself, standing in the pale light of a rooftop garden she doesn't remember agreeing to visit. He's promised, has been since before he could refuse it, to a Kydra noblewoman named Lyra, a match built to hold two rival houses together like a seam stitched over an old wound. So last night meant nothing, Mia says quietly. Not angry, just tired, bracing for the familiar ending. It meant everything, Cale answers, closing the distance between them. That's the problem. She almost believes him, until she catches herself doing it, and pulls back instead. I won't be the reason your people go to war with each other. I know how the story goes. I'm the mistake men realize later. You're not a mistake, Cale says, voice sharp for the first time. Not at her, but at the idea itself. You're the first honest thing I've chosen in a life where everything else was decided for me before I was born. Before she can answer, a car arrives she doesn't recognize. Lyra steps out, elegant, composed, eyes that miss nothing. She doesn't raise her voice or make a scene. She simply studies Mia the way someone studies a variable that wasn't supposed to exist in the equation. So you're her, Lyra says, not cruel, almost curious. Mia straightens despite the fear coiling in her stomach, refusing to shrink the way she did the night before. Lyra turns to Cale briefly, then back to Mia, her voice calm and precise as a blade sliding free of its sheath. He has never broken a promise in his life, she says softly. Are you certain you want to be the reason he considers it? Behind her, the city hums on, indifferent, while Mia realizes the real choice was never Cale's alone to make the gathering is smaller than Mia expected. No throne room, no crowd, just a handful of Kydra nobles in a quiet hall, waiting to see whether their king will bend. She almost doesn't go. Then she remembers the empty chair, the flickering street lamp, the way she promised herself she'd never shrink again for someone else's comfort. And she walks in anyway, chin level, unhidden. Cale sees her before anyone else does, and something in his shoulders eases, like he'd been holding his breath since morning. Lyra speaks first, formal, testing. The court awaits your answer, Alpha King. Cale doesn't look away from Mia when he answers. You raised me to believe loyalty means everything. So tell me, what is loyalty worth, if it's only ever given because someone was afraid to refuse it? He turns to the nobles. I won't build a peace on a promise no one actually chose. Not anymore. Silence follows, the kind that could break into chaos or something else entirely. Lyra studies him for a long moment, then, unexpectedly, exhales like a weight has lifted off her too. I never wanted this match either, she admits quietly. I only wanted someone to say it first. She inclines her head to Mia, almost respectful. It seems your king finally learned honesty costs less than he feared. No war. No punishment. Just a room quietly rearranging itself around the truth. Later, Trent resurfaces. Of course he does, sliding into her messages now that her face is attached to a king's story online, suddenly remembering all the things he liked about her. Mia doesn't need Kale to intervene this time. She blocks the number herself, steady-handed, and feels nothing but relief. That night, she sits at a familiar table, candlelight flickering the same way it did the night this all began. Except this time, she isn't checking her phone, isn't bracing for humiliation. She's simply waiting. Kale slides into the seat across from her, not to rescue her this time, but because there's nowhere else he'd rather be. Closing line. Narration: Trent lost more than a date that night. He lost the only person who would have chosen him for free, and handed a king the best seat in the house instead. His loss.